So some key ratios. Let's keep things simple and go back to I'll start with our old favorite, the look to book. And I think everybody in the industry kind of says, oh yeah, look to books. It's perhaps one of the most understood things. And it's a great measure of, who's feeding my business and who's killing my business. If we've got a lot more data, we can get a bit more sophisticated about how we're looking at this thing. We need to perhaps look at this thing. I mean, to think back to the process we just talked about, where you did searches and you did availability checks and bookings. I've got an opportunity here to really perhaps looking at additional metrics. I might want to consider the ratio between searches and availability, or availability and booking, rather than just straight from search to book. And the reason for that is I probably want to understand if I have a process which is breaking in some way. I probably want to understand where it's breaking and how it's breaking, and get to the why, so that I can perhaps take some action. I think these are the opportunities we can look at. So I might break this thing down by agents, by destinations, look at prices or hotel star ratings, or other request details that might give us some idea of when we get good rates and when we get poor rates. Now, industry, I've quoted some numbers here. This will vary a lot between businesses, but typically 2,000 or 3,000 to 1 would be a typical number for search to book. But you get ranges from a travel agent sitting there with a 1-to-1 ratio versus somebody sitting in their living room on the consumer side, generating all sorts of traffic, never booking anything, and you can get even hundreds of thousands to 1. The reality for most organizations, there is a blend for them. Just to show that we can kind of surface this type of information, and this is quite interesting because, by the way, these names here are not, these are just industry names. If you're working for any of these organizations or recognize any of them, we just simply use them to sort of give you a view that's really help you understand this, but these are all fictitious data elements, so nobody here is doing any of these particular things. But we've got an example here of UK Tours, number 11. They are showing a look-to-book ratio of 8,000, which would be actually quite worrying. So the further left these guys are, obviously the more worrying they're likely to be for us. I could resort this graph and probably draw the other end of the spectrum, where people have the lowest look-to-books, and those are perhaps, provided the volumes are high enough, those are perhaps some of my most interesting agents.